Alright, hey, welcome back to the Sloppy Modeler. Welcome back to the show. Happy to have you along today. We are going to build something very, very cool. And you'll see in a little bit that we've built this once before. But essentially we're coming up on the Rogue One Star Wars movie U-Wing Fighter. This is the classic fighter transport, the K2SO, and Cassian and Jyn go and travel to different parts of the galaxy looking for her father. And so very excited about this. It's a cool little kit. It's the Revell click and play kit, which has lights and sound, and it's already pre-painted. But we're going to strip all the paint. We're not going to strip it. We're just going to paint over it with primer and give it its own paint job. And you'll see that. And really, this is more about painting and painting up the engines and painting up the exhaust to learn how to do that, along with some of the striping and base color and so forth. So this is part 1 of 2, and hope you enjoy. Thanks. All right, hey, welcome back to the Sloppy Modeler. Welcome to the show, and welcome to our quick build of the Revell U-Wing Fighter from Revell. And this is a build and play snap tight model kit, and essentially it includes 1.5 LR44 batteries. It's manufactured in China, all trademarks under usage. The 33 parts or 35 parts, rotating positionable wings, battle action sounds, lighted cockpit with pilots, removable landing gear, action lights and sounds, and this is a level 2. I don't know what the scale of this is. I don't think it's listed on here anywhere, but it's probably like a 1 to 144 scale kind of thing. I actually have here the Bandai version of the Revell U-Wing Fighter. The Bandai version came with the TIE Strike Fighter, and essentially this is the build together kit that comes with that. It's really quite small. It does have the rotating wings, if you will, except this one is broken on this side and does not rotate, so that's fine. But essentially this is really rudimentary. It came painted, and then I went through and added some weathering to it, and there's a video on that from a couple years back. But I was not happy with the size or scope of the model. I mean, it's really quite tiny, quite small. So I saw this online and decided to go after it. And so I pulled the parts, put them through the wash bin, cleaned them up with all the oils and release agents and so forth, and then put a coat of primer on it. It did come pre-painted. It already came painted in that, you know, it already had come painted rudimentarily, brilliant white, the blue stripe here on the top, blue stripes around the engines, and then some yellow stripes and so forth. So it's really pretty quite simple. You can see here again the details of where it is painted, not much to it. So again, I went through and primed everything with Tamiya fine primer in the gray, and the kit comes with this sound and lights package, and basically that's one LED that is going to light up the cockpit, because it sits right behind it. And you've got a rudimentary cockpit, and then you've got the 2 figures as was shown right there, and I've got those primed up. So after getting them primed, I then went towards the color, and essentially where it's going to be painted, I sprayed that over with the blue. Now the blue I'm using, and I'm super thrilled with that, and you can't get it anymore, I don't believe. But this is the Martha Stewart's Wild Blueberry. And it's, I don't know, this is a couple 17, I don't know if it's 17 or not, but this is a satin finish, and it looks absolutely amazing, both from a sheen and color, and it's exactly what I was looking for. So I went ahead and sprayed all of the blue that was on there, and now I'm going to tape this off, and once it's taped off, then we're going to go after the yellow at that point. And that's really the only two colors that you've got on this. The biggest challenge that I am a little bit concerned about is there's really these 5 stripes here are going to be, I guess they go against the outside here. These 5 stripes here, they are, there's no indicators on here on where to do that. You know, there's no indentions. This has got a nice space that you can tape it off and cut through it and spray it. These here are going to be just place them where you go. So I think I might use something like a vinyl tape here. This is a white vinyl tape, and actually use that to show my width of these 5 pieces here to tape off that blue. The color I'm using for the yellow is going to be the Pure Artist Pigment, and this is called Yellow Light. And I've not used it yet, but you can kind of see the contrast between the yellow and the black in there, and that is super, super bright yellow. I really like that, and so we'll be using that for the yellow portions. I am going to chrome up or try a natural metal finish on parts of the motor. This is the black exhaust actually that sits off the back end of that. So, but just at the end I'm going to do, they're black except for maybe some scorching at the very end, and I'll have to check the references for that material at the same time. But that is another step there that we'll be going through. And then for the pure white hull. So this came pure white from Tamiya, and I didn't spray over it. This is just weathering over that, and I'm okay with that. It looks all right. A little bit greenish in my opinion now upon looking at it. So I wanted something that wasn't going to be pure white. This ship, by all accounts, is filthy. When you look at all the Rogue One Rogue One pieces, it is just a beat up, filthy ship. It's been in and out of atmosphere over and over and over again, and it really is showing its age, and it's showing you know, all of the fact that I don't think it's ever been washed as a Rebel U-wing fighter. So we're going to use on that. I don't want a pure white. Instead, I've gotten my trusty polished concrete, which is going to be the base, but I'm going to mix into that. I'm going to mix in some of this Folk Art Matte Gray Frost. And it's gray, but I think it's probably got just a hint of blue to it. And I think that's going to contrast nicely with the blue that's on this section here. So we're going to work on getting that sprayed up. But first, tape off the blue striping and so forth. And then next, try to get the yellow sprayed down. And that's just a couple of spots, like up here on the front, a couple on the back here, and a couple pieces below. So that's really the next phase for this U-wing fighter. And I think the size difference is not dramatically different, but it is, you know, probably twice the size maybe. And I wanted something that was certainly more significant than this little tiny play piece. Not quite twice the size, but it's certainly larger than this one from Bandai. So we're going to go to work on this with the taping, and then the like I said, we'll go to the yellow, and when we come back, we'll go from there. Now, one more piece. The way this engine goes together, I don't want to say it gives me pause, but there is some challenge. So the way that Revell has done this is they really worked hard to make these a receded engine kind of deal. And so when these go together, they're really keyed quite nicely. You can see the key there, but they are pushed all the way back and in. And then when these go together, they go together really tight. I don't even think I'm going to have to work on a seam much the way that these go together. So that's kind of interesting how that all works. So I've got this sprayed up black, and then I'll I'm going to try to do some metallics on the end. I am not going to light the LEDs on this simply because there's really no place to put a power source. and I don't want to tap into that one because I think that's just fine with that. That has a coat of gray primer on it, and then we'll probably add a gray for a specific gray. So like this piece here, the underneath gets a specific gray. I don't want to use gray primer. I'm going to use a different gray, and I haven't decided on that yet. But when we do, we'll inform you. So welcome aboard to the Revell U-Wing Fighter from Revell. Snap tight kit, build and play. We're going to paint this up, weather it up, glue it up. Not in that order, of course. And we will have a little bit of fun with this. So I'm pretty excited about the size of this kit. And quite frankly, the molding and the seam lines and the crispness are really top-notch for Revell. I'm amazed at how nicely this seems to come together. So with that, we'll get started on this. Thank you for your likes, your shares, your subscriptions, and we will talk to you in a bit. Thanks. Alright, we are doing the final two exhausts. We're doing the final two exhausts for the Star Wars U-Wing Fighter. And the first coat put on was the smoke. See the difference there between that and out further. After the smoke, quick shot of red. And again, this is just transparent red. Trying to blend that in a little bit. There we go. Dryer finishing up, but and then, like I said, we'll go from red to orange to yellow to blue. Just go right down the spectrum here. So there's the red. Here's the orange. Trying to get kind of an amber look on that piece. Kind of trying to get it to blend down a little bit. So it's not quite as red, but certainly not yellow. That's not bad. Alright, so that is the transparent red, transparent orange. I don't know if there's a ton of difference between those anyway, but alright, so we have been through the transparent red, transparent orange, do a quick color change. Now to the yellow. And again, we are now pushing out towards that last color, or last edge. Like so. Kind of trying to blend
that orange into that yellow a little bit. Kind of trying to give us a little bit of a golden look at the end. And again, I'm using this 0.03 needle on this Renegade from Badger. I don't use this brush a lot because it is so tiny, and most of my stuff I'm just spraying to beat the band. So this is actually working out pretty nice. One more color change here to the blue. And then the blue, I'm just trying to hit the half of that last tip out there. And so actually what I'm doing is listening carefully for when that air hits that outer nozzle. So it's a spray and then I can hear it hit. I think just enough to give it that last burnt look. That's pretty nice. And then last one here. Again, I can just hear it hit and I'll pull it back. There we go. So that's my process for spraying up a burnt exhaust on a Starship. And then I'll add a little bit of black at the very end for some scorching, and hopefully that'll get it done. But I do like the fact that that smoke brings that that smoke color brings that down, gives us a nice blend. And I may have to blend over that, but I think we're going to be okay. So, all right, we will come back. Thanks. All right, so I am pretty pleased with the way that has turned out, that big wing of the U-wing. And right now it has a coat of the just of the chalk color I've been using. And it's got a coat of the blue and some of these light grays and medium light grays, really quite nice. But I wanted to put the coat of clear on here. Sorry, to get into photo here. I wanted to put a coat of clear on here that I can use to then weather against. And just like I said, I'm super thrilled with the way that this turned out as far as the color choice. So I am just trying to get a nice clear. Now I was spraying earlier and I was not super happy with what I was seeing from the results, and I realized I had my pressure turned up way too high, and it was giving me paint was almost like it was dry before it hit the part. So I think we're using this X22 clear. That's a nice, much nicer look than what I was doing before. Using the X22 clear from Tamiya. So this is pretty straightforward as far as spraying, but I reduced my pressure down to like instead of 25 psi, which I spray a lot of my craft paints at, just to get it to go through the gun pretty well. This I drop down to 15 psi, and it's giving me a much nicer look. Much nicer look. I'm just trying to get this to, wow, that is going to be dynamite. So I think you can see there that clear gloss is really fantastic. And good paint. All right, so we're going to keep working on this a little bit. The rest of the stuff has had a coat of clear on it already, and we're working on some other pieces, but for the most part, lots of good progress on the U-Wing fighter from Star Wars Rogue One, which I consider up there as probably one of the better Star Wars movies in the market. So, all right, we'll be back. Thanks. Alright, so the front side of this is dry, or the top side I should say. And now we just want to spray up the bottom side. And again, I'm really happy with the way that the paint is turning out. In regards to... I'm really happy with the way the paint's turning out in regard to they're not symmetrical. I suspect a man like Lou would be out of his brain with the asymmetry of this, but I am quite liking the look. And the result so far. So now, one of the things I want to be careful of, I had that sitting down there, and if you're not careful, you'll get a bunch of overspray onto it, and it'll cause like dry paint to have fallen on it. And then what you're dealing with is it gets much rougher than what you want it to look like. But this is going on really quite nice. And it should be much easier to weather in the long run here. I will say this, that chalk paint that I used certainly is very, very ultra matte. I think could be the best phrase for it. Oh, that looks awesome. And with the ultra matte finish on it, it takes a lot more of the clear. X22 takes a lot more of the clear to bring that surface back up to a shine. So that is one drawback of using it, but I like the color. And for some things I like the I really like the matte, the ultra matte, right? But it does take more of the X22 clear. Now this stuff dries so fast that you can run one quick coat over the top of it, like so. And but that's you know, we're certainly not there yet from a gloss perspective, but and you can come back over it and add more. There we go. And sometimes you might want to add some flow improver. I don't think it's necessary in this case. Or even a little retarder, Tamiya retarder put in there. And with the Tamiya retarder, you can have it flow out a little longer. It takes a little longer for it to dry and gives you a nicer finish. But very happy with that. That's going to dry up nice. We'll let that do its thing as far as curing. And then when we come back, we can get started on assembly. This is the last bit of painting. We can do the assembly, and then we can, after the assembly, we can go into the weathering. So thanks for coming along for the moment, and we'll be back. All right, we are back at the paint booth, and we are working through the four engines on the. We were working through the four engines from the Star Wars U-Wing fighter. There's going to be a blue stripe and then a pale metal. The blue, I'm going to use my blueberry, but this is pale burnt metal from AK Metals. It's going to go on there, but we all know when you're dealing with stripe, like right there is a good example, it looks like it's going to bleed through. So in order to prevent that, is I have, we'll take the base color and just do a spray like right there. That looks like that's going to bleed through, and I pushed it down. Just a matter of where it's at. So I will do a base color around the whole thing, or over the area where the stripe is going to go. And the point to that is to hopefully seal that, so that the base color seals it up and keeps it from leaking. Even if it does leak under its base color, right? So pretty fast, especially where you're dealing with uneven surfaces, or surfaces that you know just don't match up with your tape. And you know, I've been there certainly, where you pull the tape back and it's just has bled through terribly. So what I hope will happen is this will seal, and I could be totally all wet, but I have used it with some success in the past. Hopefully this will seal up, and then I'll come back after it, after this is dried, and once this base color has dried again, and again this chalk with a little bit of that light heather blue in it dries fast because it's an ultra matte. So you can pretty much put that in place, and you should be good to go. You don't have to be super detailed with it, but at least enough to keep it from bleeding out. A little more paint. And this is going on relatively wet because I want it to, if it's going to bleed under the tape, I want it to do so with the base color versus the so just finishing up, and we should be good to go. So that is what I'm going for. When this dries, it won't take more than about half an hour for all this to dry. Come back and I'll do a coat of blue on the front stripe and then the pale burnt metal on the back. So we'll be back. Thank you. All right, we are working through these engines again. I've got some AK Metals pale burnt metal in the brush, and I'll tell you, it just astounds me how nicely these lacquers go on. They go on nice, they go on so smooth. Color saturation is absolutely amazing. And they dry like nobody's business. And there you go. That one's done right there. So super happy with that. The other three are done, and we will continue to work on these as we go. All right, we'll be back. Okay, we are ready for the blue stripe around the front of that. Those lacquer metals just dried so fast, so we want that final stripe around there. Again, I'm using the Martha Stewart's Crafts, and this is Wild Blueberry, and what a nice paint. Basically just thinned it down with my homemade thinner and transferred it here to a little process. And I gotta turn up. Actually got to get a little thinner in there. It looks like it's thickened up a bit. There we go. Nice. So again, real simple. Just going around the front of that, and that blue paint really lays down nice. It goes on easy, and once you get the right thickness, and just like that, the blue is done on that one. And just the other two here. And again, I'm just pointing my gun away from the pale burnt metal that we did on the back end of this. I could have taped it off, but I don't think I'm going to get any terrible overspray. I think that one is good. Check my work. Yep, we're good there. And we'll get the last one here. Now, it looks to me that I'm missing the edge, but I think what's happening is that is a wet edge, and as it's going on, it's pulling up a little bit of that curve on that, and it's giving me a reflection off the curve rather than missing an actual spot. So, but for the most part, I think that looks pretty darn good. And out of paint. All right, we will be back.
All right, still unmasking or unraveling the paint off of these engines, and for the most part I am super thrilled. I could have spent a little more time obviously on the actual tape process, but I think that I am pretty well pleased with the results that I'm seeing as this comes undone. And you can see here from the results See, this ridge around here is super clean, and it will take paint. I'm sorry, it will take weathering, I think, in just a fantastic way with those ridges. And there's ridges at the front section, and at the back section you can see all those ridges right there. And you can see how nicely that line turned out. And we'll come back to this one. Again, same thing. Look how just super clean that is. Honestly, I'm very pleased with the results, what we're seeing coming off of those metals and giving me a motor. You know, all this had was a blue stripe around it, and then this was gray. And we have completely changed up the look of those engines on this little toy, this this click and play toy. But I think you're seeing that you can actually make a pretty decent model out of this thing with a little time and paint. I haven't modified anything as far as the, I haven't modified a bit as far as the model itself. You know, no photo etch or anything like that. With good reason, I don't want to. That's too much effort. And I don't think they even make it for this particular model. But, but what is coming off of here is just really pleasing, for my eye at least. And like I said, a coat of clear over this, and like if I have to redo the stripe on the pale burnt metal, I'll do that if it takes away its. Because see, that can really take away its luster by putting clear over metals. I do have an all-clad clear that I might try out. I just don't know yet. I've never tried, but they say that works out pretty nice. But just finalizing this piece, and there we go. So, if I was going for a pristine, I certainly achieved it. And like I said, now I just want to put a coat of clear over all of that to keep it from, to make the weathering work a lot easier. We'll put a coat of clear on it, and then from there we can continue with the U-wing fighter. So let me keep working on this, and we'll be back. Thanks. All right, so that is going to wrap up the first half of Rogue One, a Star Wars movie, U-wing fighter. We've brought that paint pretty well forward on the U-wing itself. The second half, the second update, will have the building of the base, and I'm really excited about the way that is turning out. And the base and finishing the weathering on the U-wing fighter itself, and then the reveal. So we'll only have 2 parts to this build, but it is really exciting what I've done for the base itself. The U-wing fighter is turning out fantastically with that paint job, and it just shows you what you can take, just a toy, if you will, and really make something that looks almost real or lifelike out of it with a little bit of work. So we will wrap this up. Thank you for your likes, your shares, your subscriptions. We appreciate all of that. Growing the channel pretty quickly now, and we're excited about bringing more and more of this content to you. So until next time, we will see you in the next one. Thanks.